Chapter 46. The entrance is hard to find, Will said. That's why they don't need guards outside. He sketched with a pointed stick in the dirt beside the fireplace. Halt, Horace, and Malcolm were gathered around him, watching carefully as he explained the layout of Tennyson's new headquarters. That first entry tunnel leads to this, a cavern about the size of a small room, high-ceilinged, well-lit and ventilated, but completely bare. So even if someone finds that entrance, they can still get this far and think that's all there is to it, Malcolm put in. Will nodded. That's why there are no guards. The entrance to the second tunnel is well hidden, and it's barely more than waist-high. More fun for me, Horace said heavily. Will flashed him a smile. It's not so bad. It stays low for a few meters, and then it widens out and the ceiling gets higher. Plenty of room in this tunnel once you're past the first few meters. It's those first few meters that are the problem, Horace said. He looked at Malcolm hopefully. You don't have a potion that will cure my hatred for confined spaces, do you? Malcolm shook his head. Sadly, no. But it's a very understandable affliction. I think the cure for it is to face the fear and overcome it. Horace nodded gloomily. How did I know you were going to say that? What good is a healer if he can't give you a potion for the really important things? Halt gestured to the map drawn in the dirt, signaling for Will to get back to his briefing. Will nodded and continued. The tunnel veers to the right here. That's where I saw their lights, and opens out into the cathedral. The cathedral, Halt said sardonically. Are you getting carried away with Tennyson's religious fervor, Will? Will grinned. It seemed like a good name for it, Halt. It's easily the size of a small cathedral. I can call it the Great Hall if you'd rather, he added. Halt didn't answer. Will hadn't expected him to. And how many people in all? Halt asked. Counting 20 of Tennyson's white robes? His white robes? Who are they? Malcolm interrupted. They're his bully boys and collectors, Will explained. His henchmen, if you like, the ones who are in on the secret. Malcolm signaled his understanding and indicated for Will to proceed. Counting them, there's close to 120, I'd say, plus there's obviously one of the bandit gangs operating in the area. Halt chewed on a twig for a few seconds. The outlaws can wait, he said. Our first priority is to discredit Tennyson in front of his new converts, and then to take care of him and his henchmen. How do you propose on doing that? Malcolm asked. He looked at the 3 determined faces before him. There were only 3 of them, and Will had said at least 20 of Tennyson's henchmen were still with him. There will probably be violence involved, Halt said, with deceptive mildness in his voice. 3 against 20? Malcolm queried, pushing the matter. Halt shrugged. Few, if any, of those 20 will be trained warriors. They'll mostly be thugs, used to killing from behind and terrorizing unarmed farmers. It's amazing how those people melt away when they face people who know one end of a weapon from another. Malcolm wasn't completely convinced, but then he thought he'd seen Will and Horace in action at the storming of Castle Massendaw, where the 2 of them had forced their way to the top of the walls and held out against the garrison until their own men could scale the ladders and join them. Maybe they could handle 20 roughnecks. Horace, watching him, saw the doubt in his eyes. There's no saying, Malcolm, he said. 1 riot, 1 ranger. Do you understand? I assume it means that in the event of a riot or disturbance, all it takes is 1 ranger to restore order? Malcolm said. Horace nodded. Exactly. Well, looking around, I see we have twice as many rangers as we need here, so I imagine we'll be able to have a little vacation while they take care of matters. Halt and Will both snorted disdainfully, and he smiled back at them. I'd be happy to sit back and watch you both do all the work, he added. In other words, it'll be business as usual, Will said. Horace looked a little hurt. He'd left himself open for that, he realized. Then he became more serious. Halt, I've been thinking. He paused, looking expectantly at the 2 rangers. Aren't you going to say, always a dangerous thing? He asked. Halt and Will exchanged a glance, then shook their heads. No, you're expecting it. It's no fun when you're expecting it, Will told him. Horace shrugged, disappointed. He'd had a snappy comeback ready for them. Now he'd have to save it for another time. Oh, well, anyway, it occurred to me that you want to discredit Tennyson. Why not just take him prisoner and march him off to Castle Araluan, right? Halt nodded. That's important. We have to destroy this myth. What do you have in mind? Well, I thought it might help if he was confronted by the spirit of King Ferris. Halt considered the idea. Tennyson had never realized that on the first occasion when Ferris had challenged and defied him, he was actually facing Halt, disguised as his twin brother. And on the other occasions when he had seen the ranger, his features had been obscured by the deep cowl that he wore. Not a bad idea, Horace, he said. Tennyson deals in hocus-pocus and trickery. If we serve up some of the same, it might throw him off balance, and he might just be surprised into some sort of damning admission. He fingered his beard, which had grown back in the weeks that had passed since Horace had shaved it to resemble his twins. Pity, he said. I was just getting used to having my beard back in its usual condition. Scruffy? Will said before he could stop himself. Halt turned a withering gaze on him. I prefer to think luxuriant, he said with considerable dignity. Will hurried to agree. Of course, that was the word I was looking for. I don't know why I ever said scruffy. And he managed to say it with such a straight face that Halt couldn't help knowing that inside Will was holding his sides with laughter.